I'm going to show you 5 behavioral shifts that emerge when a woman has been without physical closeness for an extended period. And here's something crucial. That final indicator I'll share is the most revealing of them all. It's what distinguishes men who remain trapped in platonic territory from those she genuinely desires. So let's dive right in. Welcome to the Mindful Senior Living channel. The first shift involves touch evolving into its own form of communication. When a woman experiences prolonged absence of intimate physical contact, her body enters what researchers identify as tactile deprivation. This isn't psychological, it's rooted in our biology. Our skin contains countless receptors designed specifically for oxytocin release, and they're actively seeking activation. What manifests from this? She begins initiating physical contact with you more frequently. But the nature of these touches matters tremendously. These aren't random gestures, they're deliberate, sometimes operating below her conscious awareness. A gentle placement of fingers on your forearm as she shares something funny, smoothing down your shirt collar without any real justification, or allowing her shoulder to graze yours while you're deep in discussion. Notice how these moments of contact extend just slightly beyond what would be considered casual. And there's an important dynamic at play here. She's actually gauging how you respond. When you fail to acknowledge it, or worse yet, when you physically withdraw, her subconscious interprets this as disinterest. However, when you remain present, offer a genuine smile, and reciprocate that warmth organically, you've successfully navigated the initial phase of connection. The second behavioral shift shows up as an increased need for emotional reassurance. You see, when a woman isn't receiving substantive masculine presence in her life, an emptiness develops. And this emptiness isn't rooted in vanity. It stems from our fundamental need for human bonds. Women are neurologically designed to establish emotional safety before allowing themselves to become vulnerable in intimate ways. So you'll observe her initiating deeper conversations, posing thoughtful questions with greater frequency. She might ask things like, "Was my response to that situation unreasonable?" Or perhaps, "Do I come across as overwhelming sometimes?" The truth is, she's not actually seeking your analytical assessment. What she craves is the feeling of being truly perceived, of being genuinely comprehended by you. If you respond mechanically with something dismissive like, "No, everything's fine," you've missed the opportunity entirely. But imagine looking directly into her eyes and responding with something like, "I think you experience emotions on a profound level, and honestly, that's becoming increasingly uncommon." In that moment, you've just constructed an emotional pathway that the overwhelming majority of men never even recognize exists. The third shift reveals itself through altered body language when she's in the presence of masculine energy. This phenomenon is genuinely remarkable. During periods when a woman has been abstinent, her limbic system, which governs attraction responses, becomes extraordinarily attuned. Think of it as her awareness operating at peak sensitivity. You'll detect patterns like her repeatedly adjusting her hair when you're nearby. She'll shift how her legs are positioned, and her torso will angle in your direction even when physical distance separates you. These are subtle behavioral cues. She's typically unaware these responses are happening, but there's a critical error most men commit at this juncture. They misread these signals as explicit permission to accelerate things physically, and consequently they create discomfort that pushes her away. The actual approach requires matching her energy level, not dominating it. When she moves closer, you move closer. When she initiates touch, you respond with touch. It's essentially a synchronized exchange, and the man who can guide this interaction without appearing to control it, he's the one who leaves a lasting impression. The fourth behavioral pattern involves her testing your emotional capacity. When a woman has navigated extended periods of solitude, she constructs emotional barriers for self-protection. And before she permits anyone access to her authentic self, she requires confirmation that you can accept the genuine version of who she is, not the curated persona displayed publicly. Therefore, she's going to challenge you in various ways. She'll reveal something personal and carefully observe your response. She might introduce minor conflict deliberately to assess whether you lose composure or remain grounded. She'll make bold statements specifically to evaluate your emotional equilibrium. The majority of men stumble at this exact point. They either approach her vulnerability like a problem requiring immediate solutions, or they respond with defensiveness. What she's genuinely seeking is a man capable of listening without passing judgment, a man possessing sufficient emotional fortitude to create space for her feelings without becoming destabilized himself. When you can demonstrate this kind of emotional maturity, you separate yourself from virtually every other man she's encountered. And now we arrive at the fifth and most significant indicator. She engineers situations that could naturally lead to intimacy without explicitly stating her intentions. This fundamentally transforms everything. When a woman desires connection but feels hesitant about being forthright, she constructs circumstances that bring you together. Comments like, "Could I get your assistance with something at my apartment?" Or perhaps, "I'm honestly too anxious to watch this film by myself." She's establishing socially acceptable reasoning for private time together. And here's what truly differentiates mature men from those still learning. An inexperienced man arrives with expectations that something will spontaneously unfold. A mature man recognizes that she first requires an environment where she feels completely secure. When you show up, resist forcing any progression. Establish genuine comfort, engage in conversation, share laughter, allow the atmosphere to develop organically. And when she does move closer physically, because she absolutely will, you don't react from a place of neediness. You respond as someone fully aware of his own value. Throughout this discussion, I've illuminated 5 behavioral patterns that escape the notice of most men entirely, primarily because they're preoccupied with performing rather than genuinely connecting. But you now possess insight that creates a meaningful advantage. Apply this understanding thoughtfully, with complete respect, and most importantly, use it to foster authentic human connections. Because ultimately, that's what both of you are truly seeking. Now, understanding these patterns is valuable, but there's something even deeper at work here. There's a reason why these 5 signs matter so much, and it connects to something fundamental about human connection that often gets overlooked in our modern world. We live in an age of constant digital interaction, yet genuine physical and emotional presence has become increasingly rare. When you recognize these behavioral shifts in a woman, you're not just identifying her needs, you're being given an opportunity to provide something that society has made scarce: authentic masculine presence. Think about what that really means. Authentic masculine presence isn't about dominance or control. It's about being fully grounded in yourself while creating space for her to be fully herself. It's about emotional stability that doesn't waver when she tests it. It's about touch that communicates safety rather than expectation. It's about listening that seeks understanding rather than solutions. When you embody these qualities, you're not manipulating or using techniques. You're simply showing up as the kind of man that women naturally gravitate toward, because such men have become genuinely difficult to find. Consider the first sign again: touch, as parallel language. In our screen-obsessed culture, meaningful physical contact has diminished dramatically. We shake hands in professional settings, we might hug family members, but the kind of casual, comfortable touch that communicates warmth and connection, that's vanishing. When a woman initiates these small touches with you, she's not being forward or inappropriate. She's instinctively reaching for human warmth in the way our species has for millennia. Your response to these moments shapes the entire trajectory of your connection. Withdraw, and you confirm her fear that genuine connection isn't available. Respond naturally, and you signal that you're someone who understands the language of human warmth. The emotional validation she seeks in the second sign runs even deeper than most realize. Women process emotions differently than men. Not better or worse, simply different. Where many men compartmentalize and move forward, women often need to process feelings verbally and receive acknowledgement before they can fully release them. When she asks if she overreacted or if she's too much, she's not fishing for compliments. She's checking whether you can handle her emotional depth. Most men have been conditioned to view emotional expression as weakness or drama, so they either dismiss it or try to fix it. But when you can simply witness her feelings without judgment or urgency, when you can affirm her emotional experience without being consumed by it, you demonstrate a rare form of strength. This connects directly to the fourth sign: testing your emotional limits. Every test she presents is essentially asking the same question. Are you solid enough in yourself to handle all of me? She's not being manipulative or playing games. She's being intelligent. Life presents challenges. Relationships face difficulties. She needs to know whether you'll remain centered when things get complicated, or whether you'll crumble, blame her, or disappear. Men who can hold their ground emotionally while remaining open-hearted, those are the men women choose for long-term partnership. Because she's not just evaluating you for right now, she's subconsciously assessing whether you're someone she could build a life with. The body language shift, that third sign, reveals something fascinating about female attraction. Unlike men, who often experience immediate visual attraction, women's attraction builds through accumulated impressions. Her limbic system isn't just responding to what you look like, it's processing how you make her feel, how you carry yourself, whether your presence creates safety or anxiety. Those unconscious adjustments of her hair, the way she angles toward you, the leg crossing and uncrossing, these are her body's way of opening to you energetically. She's literally making herself more physically available for connection. But here's the crucial part. This opening is tentative. It can close instantly if you misread it or move too aggressively. That's why mirroring rather than overtaking her energy is so essential. You're showing her that you can match her rhythm, that you're paying attention, that you're someone who leads through attunement rather than force. And that fifth sign? Creating disguised opportunities for intimacy. This is where everything culminates. When a woman engineers situations to be alone with you, she's done her evaluation. She's observed how you touch, how you listen, how you handle her emotions, how your energy feels. She's decided she wants more, but she's also aware of social conditioning that tells women not to appear too forward. So she creates plausible deniability. She gives you both an excuse to be in private space together, without the pressure of explicitly stated romantic intention. What happens next determines everything. If you show up expecting immediate physical escalation, you've misunderstood the entire dynamic. She's not inviting you over for sex, although that may ultimately happen. She's inviting you into her private space to see how you handle intimacy in its broader sense. Can you be close without being aggressive? Can you create romance without pressure? Can you read the moment and respond appropriately? This is where most men fail spectacularly. They either come on too strong, making her regret the invitation, or they're so passive that nothing develops and she loses interest. The man who succeeds is the one who understands that intimacy unfolds in stages. First, you establish comfort in shared space. You talk, you laugh, you let her nervous energy settle. Then you create moments of appropriate connection, sitting closer on the couch, brushing her hair from her face, holding eye contact a beat longer than necessary. You let tension build naturally rather than forcing it. And when the moment arrives where she's clearly receptive, you move with confidence, not desperation. You kiss her like a man who knows she wants this, not like someone who's terrified it might be his only chance. Understanding all of this requires a fundamental shift in how you view interactions with women. This isn't about tricks or tactics. It's about developing genuine emotional intelligence and self-awareness. It's about becoming a man who doesn't need these signs because he's so attuned to human connection that he naturally creates the conditions for intimacy to develop. But while you're developing that level of awareness, these 5 signs serve as valuable guideposts. They help you recognize when a woman is opening herself to possibility with you. They show you where to pay attention and how to respond in ways that deepen connection rather than disrupting it. There's also something important to understand about your own value in these dynamics. When you recognize these signs and respond appropriately, you're not taking advantage of a woman's vulnerability. You're meeting her halfway. You're answering her unspoken invitation with your own authentic presence. Too many good men hold back because they've been conditioned to believe that responding to female interest is somehow predatory. But that belief serves no one. She's signaling interest for a reason. She sees something in you that she values. When you fail to respond, you're not being respectful, you're being unclear. And unclear men create anxiety and confusion, not attraction. Confidence in these situations doesn't mean arrogance or assumption. It means trusting yourself enough to act when the signs are clear. It means believing that you have value to offer and that her interest in you makes sense. Many men struggle with this because they don't truly believe they're worthy of female desire. They see themselves as lucky when a woman shows interest, rather than understanding that they've cultivated qualities that naturally attract her. If you find yourself in that mindset, the work isn't about learning better techniques. The work is about building genuine self-worth so that when these signs appear, you recognize them as appropriate responses to who you are, not lucky accidents. Let's also address the time frame aspect. When we say a woman hasn't been intimate for a while, we're not talking about a specific duration. For some women, a few weeks without connection creates noticeable shifts. For others, it might be months. The duration matters less than the internal state it creates. What we're really discussing is a woman who's consciously or subconsciously seeking intimate connection and has identified you as a potential partner for that connection. These signs emerge when she's in that seeking state, and you've captured her attention as someone who might fulfill what she's missing. This is why timing matters in relationships. You might meet an amazing woman who shows none of these signs, not because she's not attracted to you, but because she's not in a seeking state. Maybe she's fresh out of a relationship and needs time alone. Maybe she's completely absorbed in a career goal. Maybe she's genuinely content with her current situation. The presence or absence of these signs isn't ultimately about your value. It's about the intersection of her needs, her state of mind, and what she perceives you offering. When all three align, these behavioral patterns emerge. It's also worth noting that these signs aren't unique to women who've been physically abstinent. Women in unfulfilling relationships often display these same patterns when they encounter a man who represents what's missing in their current partnership. I'm not suggesting you pursue women in relationships. That creates unnecessary complications and often pain. But understanding that these signs indicate unmet needs, rather than necessarily single status, helps you navigate complex situations with wisdom. Sometimes the most respectful response to these signs is acknowledging the attraction while maintaining appropriate boundaries. The broader lesson here extends beyond romantic connection. These 5 behavioral patterns illuminate fundamental truths about human needs that apply across all relationships. We all need appropriate touch. We all need emotional validation. We all communicate through body language. We all test the safety of relationships before fully investing. We all create opportunities for deeper connection when we want it. Understanding these patterns makes you more effective not just romantically, but in friendships, family relationships, and professional interactions. The principles of attunement, emotional presence, and appropriate responsiveness serve you everywhere. As you move forward with this knowledge, remember that awareness creates responsibility. You now understand dynamics that many people never consciously recognize. Use this understanding to create positive experiences. Build genuine connections. Treat the women who show you these signs with respect and care. They're being vulnerable, even if they're not consciously aware of how much they're revealing. Honor that vulnerability. Be someone worthy of the trust they're extending. And if you recognize these signs but don't feel genuine interest in return, communicate clearly rather than leading someone on. Clarity is kindness, even when it disappoints initially. The world needs more men who understand these dynamics and use them wisely. Men who can recognize female interest and respond with authentic masculine presence. Men who create safety for vulnerability. Men who understand that real intimacy requires emotional depth, not just physical attraction. Men who can lead connection without controlling it. If you've made it this far in understanding these concepts, you're positioning yourself to be that kind of man. Keep developing your awareness, keep building your emotional capacity, and keep showing up authentically in your interactions. One final thought before we close. These 5 signs represent invitations, not guarantees. Even when a woman displays all of them, connection isn't automatic. Chemistry is complex and involves factors beyond behavioral patterns. Sometimes you'll read the signs correctly, respond appropriately, and still discover that deeper compatibility isn't there. That's not failure, that's life. The goal isn't to win every interaction, it's to show up fully in each moment and create the conditions for genuine connection when mutual interest exists. Sometimes it develops into something beautiful. Sometimes it doesn't. Both outcomes are acceptable as long as you've acted with integrity and respect. Before you go, I want you to know how much I appreciate you being here and engaging with this content. If you found value in what we've discussed today, I'd be incredibly grateful if you'd subscribe to the Mindful Senior Living channel. We're building a community of people committed to deeper understanding of human connection, emotional intelligence, and living with greater awareness. Every week, we explore topics that help you navigate relationships and life with more wisdom and authenticity. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications so you don't miss upcoming content, and join us on this journey of continuous growth. Your presence here matters, and I look forward to connecting with you again in the next video. Until then, stay present, stay authentic, and keep building the kind of connections that make life truly meaningful.